Normally, at any job interview I've ever been at, one of the most important things that I've talked about with a potential employer are my qualifications. What makes me a good fit to do the job that they're asking, and why should they put their trust in me to do the work that needs to be done? These are normal things to cover, right? But when conversations about the possibility of me becoming the pastor here at Savannah started to take place, I realized I never really talked about my specific qualifications to do this job. Now, we did talk about a lot of very, very important things. I'm not saying that this just happened on a whim. There was a lot of planning, a lot of prayer, a lot of conversations. But I don't ever think I really said anything that I've done in my professional life or my education that made me a good fit to do this, to be here. So on this first Sunday with me at Savannah, now that it's probably too late for you to change your minds, I figured it would be a good time to share my qualifications. I'm handing you my resume, so to speak. For about the past 5 years, I've served as the chair of administrative council here. I led those meetings, and I helped lead discussions on multiple aspects of church business, ranging from financial in nature to planning and brainstorming new church activities. I have served as your tech director here officially for the last year and a half, and unofficially for a lot longer than that. I installed the new sound system that you see here. I implemented a way for us to record and stream and upload our services when necessity reared its head so that we could still enjoy church even if we weren't right here. Over the years, I've coached a softball team here. I've participated in VBS programs. I've led Sunday school classes. I've played in the handbell choir. I attended Sunday school here. I attended youth group here. I attended a confirmation class here. I became a member here. I was married here. My daughter was baptized here. While I can't truthfully say that I've attended here all my life, I can safely say that I've become the person I am today, I think in large part because of this church and the people in it. I came here just shy of my 13th birthday and have attended here ever since. And actually, here's a fun fact. This month marks the 25th anniversary of my family coming to Newcastle. In fact, this coming Wednesday will be exactly 25 years since I walked through those doors the first time. I don't know that, a quarter of a century ago, I really thought that Savannah would become the home church that it has become today, but it absolutely became just that. So you could say that I have a very personal desire for this church not just to survive, but to grow and to thrive. Even more than that, though, I've spent my entire life around churches. I've seen firsthand what it's like to be a pastor ever since I was very young, and I've seen the stresses and joys that come with that. I know what it's like to be in a pastor's family, and so I know the stresses and the joys that come with that as well. In many ways, you could say that I've trained for this my whole life. And of course, most importantly, I believe that God is our creator, our protector, and our provider, and I believe in Jesus Christ and that he died to save us. So that's it. That's my resume. Dale says I'm hired. However, Dale, keeping all of this in mind, and everything that I've listed here, I can confidently stand up before you today and say that I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm still hired. Maybe this should give me pause, and maybe it should give you pause, because perhaps me admitting this means that this wasn't the best of ideas. I won't lie to you and say that I've never had moments of uncertainty in the weeks leading up to me standing here today. I've had my doubts. I've wondered if I'm the right person to do this. But at the same time, I can also say that I am not afraid. Actually, I've taken a great deal of comfort in knowing two things. The first is that I am not alone. Now, I know I'm not alone in the sense that there are people that are here that are ready and willing to help me. I know my entire family, my church family, my friends have all shown me more love and support than I could have ever imagined. But what I'm talking about is that I know that I'm not alone when it comes to this feeling of being completely out of my element. You know, putting together one of those pieces of IKEA furniture in a box without any instructions. Or maybe taking a test that you never studied for. And how do I know that I'm not alone? Well, first of all, Facebook, of course. Because every so often I'll see a meme or a picture on social media that looks something like this and says, so it turns out that being an adult is mostly just Googling how to do stuff. Or maybe one that looks like this. This is a pie graph for adulthood, and if you can't see it, it says 5% is knowing what you're actually doing versus 95% is pretending that you do. And yes, these are funny, but isn't there always an element of truth and humor? If these pictures exist, then I can't be the only person that's ever felt like this. Have you ever had to fix a toilet and actually look it up and go and then do it? Have you had to change the oil in your car? What the heck is a PDF or a JPEG file, and how do I open it? How do I make this Excel formula work so that my boss doesn't fire me? How do I tie a necktie? And for me, that's usually a half an hour before I have to be somewhere. If you've ever had questions like these, then I'm not alone. In fact, I would venture a guess that at one time or another, every person in this room has stepped into a role or a job or a situation, great or small, that made you feel like you were a little out of your element, or at least like you needed some directions. In fact, a quick Google search for the phrase, "I have no idea what I'm doing," turns up countless pieces of advice, self-help articles, and more funny images like the ones that we just looked at here. But I also know that I'm not alone by reading my Bible, and I didn't even have to look very far to find a story about someone facing a task that makes him feel very unprepared. In the book of Exodus, Moses, one of the great heroes of the Bible, flat out debates God to convince him that God has the wrong guy. Listen to this now from Exodus 3, verses 1 through 14, and then picking up in chapter 4, verses 1 through 13. Now Moses was tending the flock of Jethro, his father-in-law, the priest of Midian, and he led the flock to the far side of the wilderness and came to Horeb, the mountain of God. There the angel of the Lord appeared to him in flames of fire from within a bush. Moses saw that though the bush was on fire, it did not burn up. So Moses thought, I will go over there and see this strange sight. Why does the bush not burn up? When the Lord saw that he had gone over to look, God called to him from within the bush, "Moses, Moses." And Moses said, "Here I am." "Do not come any closer," God said. "Take off your sandals, for the place where you are standing is holy ground." Then he said, "I am the God of your father, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob." At this, Moses hid his face because he was afraid to look at God. The Lord said, "I have indeed seen the misery of my people in Egypt. I have heard them crying out because of their slave drivers, and I am concerned about their suffering. So I have come down to rescue them from the hand of the Egyptians and to bring them up out of that land into a good and spacious land, a land flowing with milk and honey, the home of the Canaanites, Hittites, Amorites, Perizzites, Hivites, and Jebusites. And now the cry of the Israelites has reached me, and I have seen the way the Egyptians are oppressing them. So now go, I am sending you to Pharaoh to bring my people, the Israelites, out of Egypt." But Moses said to God, "Who am I that I should go to Pharaoh and bring the Israelites out of Egypt?" And God said, "I will be with you, and this will be the sign to you that it is I who have sent you. When you have brought the people out of Egypt, you will worship God on this mountain." Moses said to God, "Suppose I go to the Israelites and say to them, 'The God of your fathers has sent me to you,' and they ask me, 'What is his name?' Then what shall I tell them?" God said to Moses, "I am who I am. This is what you are to say to the Israelites, 'I am has sent me to you.'" Moses answered, "What if they do not believe me or listen to me and say, 'The Lord did not appear to you'? Then the Lord said to him, "What is that in your hand?" "A staff," he replied. The Lord said, "Throw it on the ground." Moses threw it on the ground, and it became a snake, and he ran from it. Then the Lord said to him, "Reach out your hand and take it by the tail." So Moses reached out and took hold of the snake, and it turned back into a staff in his hand. "This," said the Lord, "is so that they may believe that the Lord, the God of their fathers, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob, has appeared to you." Then the Lord said, "Put your hand inside your cloak." So Moses put his hand into his cloak, and when he took it out, the skin was leprous. It had become as white as snow. "Now put it back in your cloak," he said. So Moses put his hand back into his cloak, and when he took it out, it was restored, like the rest of his flesh. Then the Lord said, "If they do not believe you or pay attention to the first sign, they may believe the second. But if they do not believe these two signs or listen to you, take some water from the Nile and pour it on the dry ground. The water you take from the river will become blood on the ground." Moses said to the Lord, "Pardon your servant, Lord. I have never been eloquent, neither in the past nor since you have spoken to your servant. I am slow of speech and tongue." The Lord said to him, "Who gave human beings their mouths? Who makes them deaf or mute? Who gives them sight or makes them blind? Is it not I, the Lord? Now go, I will help you speak and will teach you what to say." But Moses said, "Pardon your servant, Lord. Please send someone else." Can you picture God's exasperation here? I can, and if I'm being honest, I've probably put God through the very same thing a time or two. He's given Moses every comfort. He's told Moses that he'll be with him. He'll teach him what to do, what to say. He's already shown him what he'll be able to do, the miracles he'll be able to perform. And now God just wants Moses to stop worrying and go. In fact, I think we can put this image here in place of the burning bush, and it probably represents what God might be looking like on the other end of this call. Just go. Because still Moses doubts. In his mind, he has no idea what he's doing. He doesn't know what to say. And yet God's promise is simple: "I will be with you, I will help you." I actually love this part of the story because in some ways I find some humor in this back and forth. Moses is finding every excuse, and I think God just has to be astounded at the words that are coming out of Moses' mouth. Who would I even say sent me? Moses, tell them I sent you. Me, I am. Well, yeah, but what if they don't listen to me? Okay, fine. You can perform some miracles now. Show them those. Wow, great. But I'm really just not that good with words. Come on, Moses. The fact that you can even talk is because of me. Just trust me, I'll teach you. It's easy to look back on this thousands of years later and laugh, or maybe even admonish Moses a little bit. But aren't we very similar? Can't we be obstinate sometimes? Drag our feet when all we're being asked to do is trust just a little bit more today than we did yesterday? But through all of our bargaining, all of our doubt, all of our excuses, God has a simple promise: "I will be with you." And that brings me to the next thing that I've known. We are not alone. This story illustrates a couple things that I'd like to highlight. First, God hears us. Just as he hears the Israelites that were crying out for help, for mercy, God hears us as well. When we are worried, when we are scared, when we feel inadequate, God hears our cries for help. Second, when God presents us with a task, he does not demand that we do what he says. We have a choice. I didn't read through all of this part, but Moses still pushes back. And even after all of the promises that God made, after all the miracles that he let him perform, Moses still says, "I don't think I'm the right person for this." And God relents. God gives him Aaron to be his mouthpiece. And Moses had a choice, and while Moses does ultimately decide to serve God, to see that plan through, he also decides to not fully trust in God's plan. And we have that choice too. But God does have a plan. He didn't send Moses to Egypt blindly, just to make it up as he went along. He had everything planned out, this whole operation, in exact detail. He knew he had answers for every question that Moses had. So finally, most importantly, God will be with us. God promises to be with us as he was with Moses so we can carry out his plan as well. And he doesn't promise to just be with us. He promises to give us what we need to see us through. We may not be performing miracles, but what we need, God will give us. We will not be alone. You know, this won't be the last time in my life that I'm faced with something that makes me say, I don't know how to do this. I'm not trained for this. I just don't know if I'm ready. And I have some bad news for you, but you're going to be facing some of those situations too. You will not be alone. Whatever it is we face, it may not be something as major as freeing the Israelites. And I know mine isn't that big. But whatever task we are faced with that has us feeling insufficient or lost, all we really need to know is one thing. We are not alone. God will be with us. He will teach us what to say.